Good morning, and with all due respect to my vegetarian friends, is there a better sound than that when you're out camping? This morning I thought I would take a video to show you some of my favorite cookware when I go camping. They're made by a company called Banks Fry Bake, and I will go through those after we get done with breakfast. I think the bacon's done. Ready to take it off and get some eggs ready to go. Ooh, it's gonna be good breakfast this morning. All right, man, this is just getting better by the minute. Getting ready to flip the eggs, so I thought I'd put a little salt and pepper on. These are neat little Primus salt and pepper mills. Very handy little items made out of aluminum. Good morning again, and welcome back. As we're talking about Banks Fry Bake pans today, I thought I would go a different route. And of course, man can't live on bacon and eggs alone. So we are going to do some biscuits this morning. We have the Pillsbury flaky biscuits out of the tube. We're just going to bake those up in the fry bake and show you how that works. I do have a trivet with me. If you didn't have a trivet, you could set it on rocks or do whatever to lift it up. And I do have charcoal with me. So we're using charcoal, although in the outdoors you can also, as I mentioned earlier, just build a fire on top of the pot. So normally when I do a Dutch oven, if I want 350 degrees, I do whatever the diameter of the Dutch oven is, double that and put 1/3 on the bottom and 2/3 on top. For this, it calls for 400. It's an 8-inch pan, but it's much thinner. So I'm gonna go with 3 briquettes on the bottom and 6 on top, since it calls for 400 degrees, and we'll see how that works. Right, I think our biscuits are done. You can see, if you are used to Dutch oven cooking, that I did have to reload the charcoal. So I miscalculated a bit on the temperature and how much charcoal I needed, so I had to put some more on. But these things are done, and ooh, don't they look tasty. So I think the hint would have been maybe follow my initial feeling, is that you put on the normal amount of charcoal that you would put on a regular Dutch oven, maybe a couple less. But we are done, and we are going to get the jelly out and see how they taste. You can see the bottoms are really nicely done. I think I had the right amount of heat on the bottom. It just needed more on the top to get these things done. Nothing's sticking. It's really good. So we're going to take them out of the pan, let that cool down. And I did spray the pan just with Pam. Normally I would use Crisco, which is a carryover from my mother, but we didn't have any, so just sprayed it with Pam, and there you go, nothing stuck at all. If anyone is curious about the trivet that I was using, this is from Kent Rollins. If you're familiar with Kent Rollins videos on YouTube, really a great guy, great videos, so I encourage you to watch those. This is just a trivet that he produces and sells. And the nice thing about this is that it just uses bolts at the bottom, and there are 2 sizes of bolts, long and short. So depending on what you're cooking and how you want it to be versus the heat, you just interchange the different bolts. Let's let that cool down a bit. And dump the charcoal and let this start to cool down. We are back from our camping trip, and as promised, I wanted to walk you through the Banks Fry Bake series, give you a little bit of history about the pans, a little details, and why I think they are really exceptional camping equipment. The pans were originally conceived in 1977 by Pam Banks and her father, who actually had a background in metallurgy and production. And in 1979, after some prototype testing with the National Outdoor Leadership School, production began on the Expedition version, which is a 10-inch pan. Now, to put that in perspective, that is shortly after I ceased becoming a Boy Scout. So these pans have really been in production for 41 years, which in the scheme of outdoor equipment is phenomenal. And what's even more amazing is that these pans have been in production for 41 years and are really not that well known. I think they're well known in a small community, and that community is NOLS graduates and their students and the canoeing and kayaking crowd. Now, as you've seen from my other videos, I'm not what you call a lightweight backpacker. I started out camping as a canoeist, primarily up in the Boundary Waters and Voyageurs National Park area, Quetico area. So weight is important to me, but it's not a critical factor like a hiker. So to give you a perspective, the two smaller pans both come in at less than a pound, and the larger Expedition pan comes in at just under 2 pounds, 29 ounces, I believe. So back to the pans. In 1979, they began production on the Expedition version, and the two smaller 8-inch pans called the Alpine versions began production in 1988. And there are two versions of the smaller pans. This is the saute pan, the shallow pan, and then the deep pan, which we use to bake the biscuits. So those are the two versions of the Alpine, and then the Expedition pan just comes in the shallower version. These pans are 100% made in the United States. They are manufactured in New Hampshire, then anodized in Massachusetts. And they are designed and produced to be extremely rugged. One other thing that I like to do when I buy my outdoor equipment is to buy the best equipment I can that's going to last me for a long amount of time. You have a lot of choices in cookware for camping. Some is extremely cheap. It gets the job done, but it doesn't last. Some is non-stick, but I'm not a fan of the non-stick cookware, although I do own some ceramic non-stick. But these things are just extremely durable, and really they are close to being non-stick pans. As you saw when we cooked, I wasn't getting a bunch of sticking in them at all. So they are extremely non-stick, but you do have to clean them. And they are so durable and manufactured to last such a long time, the company recommends using metal utensils in them, and actually says that if you are on a river trip, to go ahead and use sand from the banks of the river to scrub the pans out and then finish them off with dish soap. So they are really extremely well-built pans. I think one of the reasons they're not so well known is that you don't find them in the big retailers. I've never seen these advertised at REI or Backcountry or Walmart or anything like that. And I don't think they really get discounted, so they're not heavily marketed. But once you find them, I think that you sort of realize how fantastic they are. They do come, you can buy them as is, or you can buy them with a lid. They do both. And you can also buy this set, the two pans with one lid, and then you can interchange the lid. I think this lid and pan set is $64. This comes in around $74, and the big one is $85. I think the combo of these two with just the one lid is right around $100, $106. They also have seconds on their website that you can buy that gives you a discount of, say, $5 a pan. And these two are actually seconds, and I can't tell what's different about them. So don't be afraid to buy the seconds, but certainly for an extra $5, if you want a first quality, go for it. A couple other things that they sell that I think is necessary is the pot grippers, the pliers. Now, I think you could use any pot grips on the bottom side if you have a regular standard pot grip. The beauty of these are that they also work with the lid, the tab on the lid. They do have two versions of the lid. This is the standard version with the riveted pin and hole. They also make a version that just has a wing nut screwed through the middle if you wanted to replace it with your own handle. If you had a handle you preferred or something that was special, you can buy that handle. I think it's called the Knowles handle, and then you can replace that as you need to. So the pot grips that you can buy on the website as well, $18. These are also made in the United States. Also on their website is this little spatula. Now, clearly you don't need to use the spatula on their website. I did pick it up, and frankly, it is really perfectly sized for the pans, and the edge is relatively sharp, and you're able to scrape out the pan when you're done cooking if there's any residual gunk that you need to scrape out before you wash. This works really well for that. Also made in the United States, in my home state of Iowa, actually. So again, I think these are really, really nice cookware. You have to be comfortable using pot grips because they don't come with a handle. I don't find that to be an issue whatsoever, and these are so light that that causes no problem whatsoever. From a cooking standpoint, they fry really well, they saute really well. You can deep fry in them. You can obviously convert it into a Dutch oven. If you are a Dutch oven cook, this thing works well. And you can actually put a steamer basket in there with the lids on them, and you can steam food. So they're extremely versatile. They're extremely durable. They're not cheap, but are they worth it? I think 100%. Again, I hope you found this useful. I hope if you were familiar with the Banks Fry Bake, that this gave you a little more information. If you weren't, I hope it introduced you to a great set of cookware. And as always, I want to thank you for tuning in to Dickin' Around Outdoors. I am Dick, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please leave them below. I'll also set a link to the pans and the website for Banks Fry Bake, as well as some of the other stuff we used in the video.